Let me turn to our two nominees, Ambassador Newland and Ms. Zaya. Congratulations on your nominations, and our thanks to both of you for your willingness to return to the State Department and distinguished careers in the Foreign Service. At this pivotal moment for our foreign policy for democracy for the State Department, I'm heartened that President Biden nominated both of you. You're experienced and accomplished diplomats, and you have both demonstrated the strength and commitment necessary to defend our values. The positions you've been nominated for, Undersecretary of State for Political Affairs, Undersecretary of State for Civilian Security, Democracy, and Human Rights, are among the most important in the department. Ms. Zay, I understand that the distinguished senator from Virginia is going to introduce you this morning, so I'll turn to him at this time. Senator Kaine.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and to members of the committee. It is a real honor to introduce a wonderful public servant, Uzra Zaya, the nominee for the post described by the chair. Virginia is one of the most connected states in the country to our military mission, but I'm also proud that it's one of the most connected states to our diplomatic and development missions, with many diplomats and State Department staffers calling Virginia home. Ms. Zaya is a 20-year Virginia resident. She's a distinguished diplomat and nonprofit leader who's dedicated virtually her entire adult life to public service, the advancement of human rights and U.S. national security. The duty to serve runs in her family. She is here with her husband, Tom, a United States Marine. Together, they have more than 60 years of public service to the American public, which is just wonderful. And I love that we've got a diplomat and a military union in the household. That is a wonderful balance. Ms. Zaya served 5 presidents, 3 Republicans and 2 Democrats, with distinction for 28 years as a Foreign Service officer on 4 continents. She's fluent in Arabic, French, and Spanish. She was acting Assistant Secretary of Human Rights, Democracy, and Labor. In that post, she led U.S. human rights dialogue with China, Egypt, and Bahrain, among others. She vigorously defended religious freedom around the globe and expanded public-private partnerships to advance LGBT equality and counter gender-based violence. She was chargé d'affaires in Paris, and she led the U.S. response to, sadly, 3 major terror attacks in that city, took U.S.-French cooperation on counterterrorism in Russia to unprecedented levels, and elevated U.S. engagement against anti-Semitism and online hate. In India, she crafted a strategic partnership framework over a decade ago that still enjoys broad bipartisan support and today serves as the cornerstone of the U.S. Indo-Pacific engagement. She helped overcome India's longstanding aversion to external democracy promotion and launched new bilateral initiatives to support gender equality in Afghanistan and to support free and fair elections abroad. As a young human rights officer in Syria, she documented the brutality of the Assad regime and led U.S. outreach to Syria's minority religious ethnic communities under siege. Since leaving the State Department, Ms. Zaya served for 2 years as CEO and president of a leading nonpartisan peace builders network, where she worked to strengthen the evidence base for successful political transitions and support greater accountability for taxpayer-funded foreign assistance. She also drafted the Council on Foreign Relations report on revitalizing the State Department. Ms. Zaya is a trailblazer. She's the proud daughter of Indian-American immigrants. She would be the first Asian-American woman to serve as Undersecretary of State. And I believe she is very, very well prepared to take on this post, and we're proud to support this exemplary Virginian. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Kaine, for the robust endorsement of Ms. Zaya. Let me conclude. The State Department faces unprecedented challenges, from restoring America's place in the world to managing the health and economic crisis created by COVID-19. And China and Russia are at the top of the list of foreign policy crises confronting America today. As you know well, Ambassador Newland, the United States needs to act now to stop a resurgent Russia, with Putin once again threatening Ukraine, continuing his attacks on our democracy, and threatening his grip on the Russian people and those who dare to oppose him. I want to applaud the administration for the actions that were announced today. They were robust. It's a type of action I would have wanted to see, and I look forward to their continuing engagement. On China, We must both confront Chinese attempts to undermine democracy and human rights and compete with them economically. That is why I'm pleased that Senator Risch and I have authored a bipartisan bill which will make the United States competitive with China and provide us with a clear and coherent national security strategy on China. And while I look forward to a more in-depth discussion on Russia and China during our time for questions, I want to quickly highlight three additional policy areas: Iran, Turkey, and the Western Hemisphere. Although I did not support the JCPOA, I felt strongly that the Trump administration's decision to withdraw without a coordinated diplomatic strategy would embolden Iran and leave us less safe, and Iran's behavior has only validated my predictions. I recently led a bipartisan letter supporting a diplomatic path forward. But let me be clear, that path must go beyond the scope of the JCPOA. I expect that this administration will pursue what the President and the Secretary themselves have endorsed: a stronger and longer agreement. And I will expect you to provide the committee with details on any agreement and on exactly what longer and stronger means. Iran, not surprisingly, is seeking to control the timetable for these discussions by taking provocative actions against vessels in the Arabian Gulf and U.S. military facilities in Iraq. In Turkey, President Erdogan got a free pass from the previous administration, and we are seeing the effects: the purchase of a Russian missile system, military aggression in Nagorno-Karabakh and Syria, bellicose actions against Greece and Cyprus. Long considered a NATO ally, Turkey seems to want to break with us instead of be our partner. And I don't agree with Erdogan's choice, but we have to begin to reorient ourselves in the Eastern Mediterranean towards democracies that share our values and our security interests. The administration has an important opportunity here, and I hope they seize it. Finally, in our own hemisphere, we must strengthen our alliances and address forced migration. I'm particularly concerned about the challenges Colombia, our top strategic partner in Latin America, currently faces, including the monumental task of implementing the 2016 peace accord, the violence related to drug trafficking, and the destabilizing influence of the Maduro regime's crimes against humanity in Venezuela. And I cannot close today without raising a crisis that goes to the core of American values and American leadership: the state of democracy around the world. We are in the midst of a 15-year democratic recession. From Nicaragua to Hungary, democracy is marching backwards. Even worse, authoritarians are using the COVID-19 pandemic as an excuse to steamroll free and fair elections, independent media, and other hallmarks of democracy. And they have assumed that their violations will be met with little resistance. It's time for the United States to step up and speak out on democracy. And I expect that both of you will help lead the charge to restore democracy throughout the world. At a time of unprecedented challenges around the world, America needs outstanding leadership at the State Department. I have no doubt that you're both up to that task. But I expect to hear from both of you today about how you plan to restore America's place in the world, repair democracy, and confront the immense challenges facing us. With that, I turn to the ranking member for his opening comments.